Hey, well, welcome to the Dream Labs. It's Dr. Contrast here. I just really feel good about being back on the air again here today. And man, it's been the last 2 weeks have been pretty difficult. Not difficult from the point of view of schedule-wise, but I just was in the middle of an office move, and all of a sudden, all these things begin to take place, and just getting things organized, settling in, and getting desks all organized, materials and the like. The lighting and the computer systems all set up. So thanks so much for your patience here. And I thought we'd go back in today and maybe look at a nice little facelift here in terms of going back and finishing up this crossover system. And interesting too, because I think a lot of neat things about this platform that's very difficult. I think a difficult kind of a setup to work with, because you've got it's between an SUV and a wagon, but it should have some real personality to it. And I think I went through some of the sketches last time we were together a couple of weeks ago, just doing some thumbnail sketches, looking for exploring certain shapes and getting a little bit more dramatic if I possibly can, and taking it into another dimension. So I just thought I'd take a moment here and kind of review a little bit here. And I took a selection here near the end of the lineup here, and we'll kind of finish up a little bit of rendering. I'll put some graphics ahead of time to kind of save some time, kind of fill in some of the little pieces, and we'll take it from there. So in addition to these sketches, there was a whole batch of little black and white thumbnail sketches we did looking for exploratory shape, volume, stance, character, all the things we've talked about in the past. And I think it's kind of nice that kind of moved from that scaling up by 11 to 11 by 17 and got a little sportier with this thing, a little more aggressive with some rocker rails and different texture and color to work with. So started with that one, and that was a little bit of the way. And then I moved to another little platform here. We're just kind of reversed it just a bit, got a little shorter wheelbase, a little chunkier, a little guttier, a lot more muscular, and then the muscular system. Both around the rear quarter area. So that was another pass we did here. And then I went right back into some line studies here based on, all right, let's go back and look at some interior and exterior pieces. This is a little pencil study we did looking at, it was okay, but it just didn't have the same, it didn't have the same character to it. It's sportier, it's a little more fluid, but it's a little bit more contemporary, less contemporary side than I really had looked for. Interior wasn't too bad. But trying to get the message center and just opening it up just a little bit more, and be a little more adventuresome with some of the shapes and forms in the interior space itself. And then we moved from that sketch, got a little more aggressive with this thing, I think, as we went down the line here. Then finally I just said, maybe we look at something that's a little bit more vehicle related, such as this. And vehicle meaning in a sense it's got a little more guts to it, a much more simplified interior space to it, which is a very interesting set of circumstances. And by the way, before I forget too, before we end the broadcast today, I'm going to go back in and show you. There's some things happening here that are interesting, but I think what I want to do is go back. It's more of a display system for information and speedo, temperature, all the gauges and so forth in a window. I haven't broken up the shapes yet, but you'll see in a moment what I've done with this thing. And at the end of the stream, I'm going to go back in and show you some little overlays on what this IP system could look like. The overall content is there, keeping it nice and simple, clean. It's like a platform on the inside of the machine. Obviously, the steering wheel has to be dealt with here, which we'll see a little bit. But I felt that this exterior study was a little more on the aggressive side of what I wanted to establish. It's not the greatest groundbreaking design, but it has a presence about it that looks like a bit of a crossover. It's kind of gutty looking, pretty bold up front, and very aggressive side rail skirting and rocker skirting and the like, and very fluid upper, very round. So that's the one we're going to deal with here in a moment. But I took a second here and just went back in and said, what about a couple of little thumbnail sketches like this, where you actually kind of lay down, again, graphics, a little sportier, a little shorter wheelbase than these guys. But nonetheless, something that was interesting in terms of, maybe some graphics and packaging, breaking up some of the shapes, getting a little more power dome up front in this guy, and a little bit more of a shingled front end system on this guy. We'll go back in a little bit later on, maybe sometime later on, and put together a couple of renderings on this stuff and just kind of keep them nice and loose. But then from that study here, I just kind of went back to basic concept here. And I got, this is interesting. I went back, and let's go back to this guy for a moment here. I took this basic platform, this guy, and said, what if we took that guy and just did a little bit of reverse, almost like a Bentley Speed 6 Blue Train platform. We actually reversed the windscreen and got a little more aggressive with this thing. I thought this was an interesting set of circumstances to deal with. Now I'm getting a little bit more aggressive with it, and again, very sporty and fluid, and very almost a full lean shape up on top here. And I think I brought this one up for purposes to chat about now, because I think later on, maybe in a couple of weeks' time, I'm putting together a portfolio of just some Bentley Blue Train Special Speed 6 concept studies and trying to take that into this generation. And I'll be very candid with you. I think that was a real mistake on my behalf because I don't think you can do anything more powerful, more aggressive than that 1939 Blue Train Special that Bentley put together, that Speed 6. Just a phenomenal piece of automobile architecture. Long hood, power dome, short upper, very vertical windscreen, almost a real abbreviated bustle back on it. I mean, it was the ultimate hot rod, and it just had some really interesting characteristics about it, and it's an interesting story behind it as well. But I took that page out of that for this crossover piece here, in a sense, where I just took the windscreen and instead of being vertical with it, just kind of leaned it forward a little bit to see what kind of aggressive we can get with this. And then this little detail in here could be kind of fun to work with, like maybe a texture change. Maybe this is all carbon fiber, this is silver. I'm going to go into some of the rendering of that stuff earlier, or a little bit later on here, as time moves on. Then a little bit more of the typical approach here down below, which is a little less aggressive, much more slope in the windscreen, a little slipperier looking. But again, I went through a pass since our last stream here. I'm just going back and refining some of these shapes and beginning to look at certain selections. And I thought, well, this is kind of a nice approach to it. Maybe we can wrap it up. And I finally decided I'd go back to this sketch here, which was the original layout, this guy, and just kind of recreated it. And for what it's worth, let's kind of go back here for a second and just put a little bit of graphics in place here. And this is where we're going to start up here. So we kind of ended up with just a little bit more of a nice, simple stance, so a little bit of color to the interior space. And as I said, we'll show you a little bit more as we go through the setup here today on how we're going to set this thing up in terms of maybe modifying some of the shapes and some of the instrumentation pieces and steering devices and so forth, and tunnel console as we go through the exercise here today. So let me kind of jump in here and just start looking at a very simple stage. I just want to do a nice, real good, quick, simple pass. A little bit of rendering together with this thing. Let's just kind of get in here and just slow it all down. Just start with a little bit of a silver, bring it all up to shape. Just tone it in. Get a base laid in here. Come down. A little bit of room, a little bit of reflection study, take that through the actual wheel envelope here. Bring that into play here as well. Take this, just to stay it in, get a good start along the belt line. Simple stain first, then we'll come back in and just modify it as we go here. Save a little bit of the highlight on that envelope. Take that in. Blocking in the surfaces. We'll kind of modify as we go here. So take down through a very simple substrate in this thing. It's a common pass. A little bit more far side of this hood. Take that on through a little bit more tone on that. Take this with a little more of that reflection off that body side here. Same with this guy. So I can pass at it. It'd be kind of neat though to take that. Wouldn't it be kind of cool to take this beauty and just kind of roll it in there with maybe just a bit more, a bit of tone inside this, the wheel envelopes as well. Just kind of get this all squared away. Put a little slight tint here first. A little bit of pastel later on to kind of put more juice in this thing here. But just kind of see what happens with this thing here. Now, let's do this. Let's get a little more core in this thing. There's a 1. Started there with that guy. Let's see if we can come down with maybe a number 3. There's a little more core in this thing. So this windshield, let's take this right on through the glass. Drop that in. spear to work for us here. Get that little shadow to develop that just a touch more. Get that back. And then just let's a little bit more color in this thing. Let's just kind of take a little reflection into the body side here. Through. Real simple. Definition here. So I'm going to insert piece here. Take that bar, post here. Let's just run that little horizon line. Let's run that right through here. Take that into this, into the chin. I'm going to highlight right there. Take that across. Then let's get that splitter in place here. Let's kind of tone that down just a bit. There we go. Just kind of a little bit of romance, putting this thing back into place here. Just kind of taking advantage of those shapes. And let's get a little bit more of this, a little bit of reflection back up on top here. Let's take this shoulder off. Let's take that off that wheel, that well. Run that in. This far side on a cowl here and run it across. Yeah. The more guts in the wheels now. Just got to tone these back just a bit more. And knock that back just a bit more. That's just a nice, just a simple, very silver, almost a silvery kind of look to it. Just very simple blemishes here. I don't know if I want to go back to that red quartering one I had. That's kind of an interesting approach to it right there. Just keep it that simple. And then from there, let's see what happens here. We just go back, maybe a little more impact. There's maybe a number 5 grade, just a little bit more ground reflection down here into this. Shoulder to work just a bit there. Yeah, just starting a little more guts to it. That's kind of interesting how it's all kind of coming together here for us in terms of just up and a little bit of fender work here, and let's put a little bit of zip in this this daylight opening here. Let's put this back in place here for a moment. Kind of get this in place here. Put a pencil definition in here again. Yes. Lighting graphics. Let's take this pencil and just kind of knock in some little bit of shadow here to kind of show where that pocket is. See, a little bit of highlight to come across the shoulder here. Just a bit more. Kind of reinforce that little seam line in there. Shadow drop in here, just enough to kind of drop that, set that back just a bit. It leans just a bit more. There we are. A bit of drawing definition here to get this thing kind of clarified just a touch. Pretty interesting setup here in terms of putting it all together. Just a very simple graphics and a very beefy looking machine here. So I think it's interesting that you keep it simple. Not a lot of fuss here in terms of a lot of vanilla, just keeping it nice and easy. And let's go back in here. Take this just over the top of the shoulder just a bit more here. Pardon me as I move the pad just a bit here. Just gonna get that, yeah, it's in that form up just a bit. There it is. And take this over the top of the shoulder just a bit more. There it is, hot spot. Into that area, into that area. And maybe just a touch more here. A bit of a different tint here. One more pass in here. And here. That chin to work. Graphically, coming along pretty nicely, smooth. Interesting little set of circumstances here. Just an awful lot of little interesting things. Let's do this. A little bit of pencil definition to this. Get these guys lined up here. A little more pencil definition in this little spear here. Just enough mystery here to kind of open it up just a bit here, and interesting little setup as far as we go. And yeah, let's do this. Get a little bit of graphics in the glass here. Put a little bit of a tint in the sky. Let's see if we can get a little bit of a little sky tone in this lower here. see, number one gray. Put a little bit of that into it, a little bit of a push. Here we are. Is there. Just a touch more, a little bit of tint in here. There it is. Bring this back just a touch. And a little more screen to it. There it is. That's kind of coming together pretty nicely here. Keeping it simple. I'm going to put a lot of fuss into it here. Just nice and easy, kind of getting a rhythm set and just giving a little bit more muscle to it. And you know, I think it's kind of interesting setup here. Let's try a little bit more too. Let's kind of tint this back a little bit more. Just enough in here. There you go. Just want me to push up just a touch more inside these wells here, the wheels. Just going to get some more substance to it. See what happens to it here. A little fullness to it. That's a little depth, yeah, a little more depth to it. That's kind of interesting. Here we go here. Let's go back and just hit the front, same kind of character. Depth. There we go. A little more fullness in it here. So far, so good. Just gotta keep it nice and clean. And let's put a bit of tint up on top of this guy too, just enough to. just a little bit more detail in that IP system here, but I think, coming together pretty nicely as far as just a look. It's just been a little more aggressive looking, I think, and it's much more, I think it has a lot more character, it's a little bit more personality, less of a fuss. I think let's just go back. Let me try something here real quickly. Try a little bit of pastel wash in this guy. See if we can kind of put something together here for us here. Let's see if we can put a little more depth inside these wheels. And knock them back just a bit more. Maybe just a little more of a brush into here. There we go. And see here. There we go. A little gut ear. Just kind of knocks them back just a bit more. Let's see if we can get some of this out of the way. What do you think thus far, gang? Pretty good. Interesting here. So far, so good. A little bit of eraser. Let's get some of the surface back here. Let's get a little bit of a wash here. We'll clean this thing up a bit. Just a little more affection on that body side, just enough to kind of give it a little more character to it. I think that might do it here. Let's see if we can kind of get some little bit of hot spot on this rim up on top here. That is. Put more of a pass in this thing, just kind of clean it up just a bit more. There it is. And just put a hot spot down here. There it is. And there it is. I mean, it's clean and simple. I don't want to really stress an awful lot in terms of putting a lot of push into it here. I think as far as the background goes, I'm going to keep that just in line form now. Might be a little bit interesting to kind of put a little bit of, see if we can put a little bit of blush in this thing here. See if I can take this Rebro pad here, put just enough tint inside this thing to kind of put a little bit of a background. Use the back of this. Stay there for a moment. Get rid of a sheet of paper here and come back in and give myself a little bit of a bridge to work with here. Just put a little bit of backdrop in this thing, keeping it nice and simple. And we'll go from there. Just going to put an edge on it here. And just, there she is. Just going to go back in through here. Just going to do this first. A little bit of a touch of orange to it if we can. Just enough blush back in there to kind of a little bit of composition to it. That edge off in place here. Nice and subtle. And maybe that's just about it right there. Just enough to kind of give a little bit of presence back there. Keep it nice and simple. Very, very subtle. So let's kind of look at that right there. Just putting a little bit of tint to this thing makes a huge difference here. So we can get a little bit of this to kind of scrub back a bit more. A little bit cleaner inside the body side here. Put a little bit of scrub to it here. A bit of eraser. Clean this thing up on the outside. I think as far as that goes, I mean, that's just about nice as simple as I want to keep it here. Just a nice, delicate approach to it. And let it go with that. Just an exercise. Let me crispin this thing up just a bit more here inside this. We have some lines to work here for us. That guy. That into the pillar. And there she be. I think that's just about got it. Play a little bit of paper braid through a little bit of sky tone up on top of the glass. And, just see what happens with this thing as far as content is concerned, and just keeping it simple. I think the exercises here, once you go back through some of the line studies here, for example, here's some additional things here we're working with. Yeah, let's slide that up just a bit here. There's the actual content itself. And just coming back in and just some of the line studies, I think that just there's something about this I'm going to come back to in this Blue Train special when we get to it. Maybe that Blue Train special can't be touched. Maybe it's converted into an SUV because it is the original hot rod. That thing is an absolute beastly machine. So really cool to work with. But these are the pencil studies I went through, and I kind of decided on this one. Here's a line study. And as I said in the beginning of the stream here, I really want to go back in and take a look at what we were doing with this IP. So let me just kind of pull this down just a bit here, get this organized. And then what I was really looking at here, a couple little thumbnail studies. What I looked at was in this IP system here, very simple platform with information center, but what's missing is the concealed hideaway for steering wheel and the like, and other controls. So I'm going to come back in here for a moment. Let me just do this. Let me sharpen up the sketch a bit here. Just a little indication here, maybe some split lines in this guy, just to kind of get a little more definition to it, and just a touch there, 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 and there. And I just want to take a moment here, and as I said at the beginning, this has a platform piece to it for an entertainment or information center, but it just didn't have the the kind of guts that took place, kind of put it all together. So I did a couple of real quick thumbnail studies over the top of this. What if this platform changes like that? It becomes more of a piece where you're actually expanding this platform a little bit more. And then the idea behind that in both cases, let me just get rid of the sketch underneath here. The idea behind that is now to take advantage of some of these concealed IP systems, and underneath it, the wheel rotates out and comes up underneath the IP itself, and this becomes the information center. It just slides up and out of the area. And then this guy does the same thing. It's the same, basically, it's a bit of an offset here, just a little bit of a change in the plan view, but the same idea. The wheel actually comes out of the surface, or it's tucked up underneath, and that becomes your steering device, and the actual entertainment center or information center is up on top here. So a little bit confusing here, but if we did this, that is where the overlay is. It just kind of sits up here. Let's do this first. Let's get back this. Get this guy lined up. We're going to get both these guys in the same place here. so you can see what the difference might be. It shows you go back in and maybe facelift the sketch at a later date. I definitely would go one way or the other. I think the first one I looked at was this one, where we actually just dropped that shape over the top of that IP system itself, and then gave it that kind of look. Maybe that shape comes up underneath and it drops, and drops into the IP, and then the information center just slides up and rotates out of that. So all the information is there and concealed. So that would be one approach to make that facelift change. Although I do like that oval look for it, but I just didn't feel comfortable in terms of putting together all the wheels and the steering wheel and instrumentation graphics and the like. And the second one is a little bit more of an asymmetrical piece, which I'm really not in favor of. I'd rather keep it very, very, if I take that shape all the way through and maybe dive back in again and just bring it so it's symmetrical, let it go with that. But same concept, the wheel rotates up and the IP system comes up, the information center is up on top. So that's where it is today, gang, and just a very simple little exercise. We started this thing about 2 weeks ago, and I really do appreciate your patience with me getting back on board here in terms of putting together the operation. A big difference, and really helps me get back on the air and keep active with this thing. So I'll be looking at them down the line here the next few weeks. Go back, and as I said, I've started to do a little bit more work on that Blue Train Special, which is going to be a really tough one to deal with. I think you can't. I really believe it's going to be a tough one to top, because that thing was such a special form. It's just a very unique looking piece of equipment. So nonetheless, gang, there we are today. Just a simple little study in exterior with a crossover vehicle, a little bit more of a ruggedness, so it's a little bit of still study here, different texture changes, a little bit more massive front end, a little beefier looking, but at the same time very slippery upper on it, so to kind of keep it in the realm of being not too much of an SUV, not too much of a wagon, so in between the two, which is a very interesting place to get to. So that's where we are today, gang, and I hope all was well with you. Let me just do this in closing. Listening to the books. There it is. So we're all set to go. So that's another session in place here, and I hope we'll get a chance. I'm going to try and do this too between now and next week or so, next Wednesday. I'm trying to pick up some time here to make up what I've lost in terms of the last 2 weeks. Really had a really rough go with the office change and getting things. Was I moving? Was I not moving? Now we've got it all set. We're in pretty good shape here. So interesting here. So I'm going to try and make up some time to do some things here. Maybe the more instructional things. I've got some questions coming up from individuals who are looking into some things in terms of volumetrics and some round surfaces and very organic shapes. So I might just go through a series of some exercises on that in the next few weeks here. But I really appreciate your patience with me. It's always good to have you on board. I want to thank you for the time there. And if you are tuned in and you have some questions about sketches or ideations or things you're dealing with, drop me a note at jim@drcontrast.com. That's my email. I'll be happy to help you there if I can. And secondly, please take a look at my website, jim@drcontrast.com. It's under construction now because we've had some changes in the store. We're trying to modify that. Don't know why the difficulty is, so it's taken such a long time, but putting the pieces together has been very, very difficult. And so really appreciate you taking a look at that when you have and can. And we'll keep you posted. There's some neat things coming up here in the next few weeks as far as streams are concerned. I want to do a little variety, architecture, some product design work, just some basic sketches, maybe speed forms, and definitely looking forward to some of the, I've got a landscape program too, I think you can really enjoy. And I just wrapped up a volunteer piece for the e-bike series at Ohio State University, so electronic bike, Bonneville Speed Flat bike, so I'll maybe show you a couple of little sketches as well. So anyway, I wanted to wrap up this thing today on the whole idea of getting together with the crossover series and coming back and wrapping that up a little bit from a couple of weeks ago. Thanks so much. Always good to have you on board. I want to take care of yourself, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks, next week rather, on Wednesday, same time. Maybe I had to go a little earlier today because of an appointment schedule, but nonetheless, we're in good shape, and I look forward to seeing you next week. I wish you all the very best. I will sign off with this. I think it's the most important part of the whole stream. Never forget to remember to dare to be great, because you are. Thanks very much, gang. All the best, and we'll see you next week. Take care now. Thanks. Bye-bye.